Hey YouTube, this is Rescue Amusement Park Fan 62. It is Friday, February the 3rd. Um, in today's video, this is amusement park tips and tricks in another way. Um, First, to save money, buy your tickets online. They're typically a lot cheaper. Um, it depends on the park, really, too, because some parks make it cheaper by a lot, some make it only by a few bucks. So the best thing to do is at least look. Also, a lot of the parks now are starting to want you to um, get parking online as well. That way you can pay for your parking space in advance. So all you have to do is just show the attendant the thing, and then you're good. Um, Now, the best thing to do, like I said, is get them online. So that way you don't typically have to stand in the line. That's typically quite long, especially once you get in the summer months. And um, and then that way you can just head on in. Now, once you're in, the first tip is this. Um, a lot of the time, you guys will get thirsty throughout the day. So the best thing to do is the more of you there are, and you want to get a souvenir cup, the less they will be. Typically, they start around 15 to 20 bucks, but the more that you buy, the less they will be. So typically, I think if you get like five or more, they will typically be about 10 bucks or so a piece. It depends on the park and depends on their pricing with that as well. So that way you can um, save money. Now, the other thing to do as well is to check and see if those are free refills all day. Some parks are like that, where you can get free refills all day on the first visit, and then you pay 99 cents unless you do the more uh, expensive one where it's all season. So if you plan going to like a Six Flags or Cedar Fair park on your trip, it's actually worth spending a little bit more money and getting the all season. Now, if you plan on going back to that park again, let's say the next day, um, see if the park offers a like a wristband or something for free refills after that. Because some parks will offer it where you can pay like $5 or $6 and you can get free refills for that day as well if you get the 99-cent refill one. Now, the next thing is this: if you go on an extremely busy day, so like a weekend or sometimes even some weeks, so especially if it's like a major holiday like Fourth of July, Memorial Day, something in that ballpark, um, the best thing to do is actually get the fast pass because a lot of those times those lines can get at least an hour or more. So the best thing to do is just get the fast pass and you can skip a lot of that. Now that won't exactly mean you get to the front and get on the next train, but that means you will wait far less than the other people who decided not to get the fast pass. Um, Now, for the people who can't, physically walk too far, the best thing to do is get the to rent like a scooter or something like that. You can typically find those around the front of the parks. Some parks are going to be like outside the gate. Some parks are going to be inside. So it depends on the park, really. Those typically for what you're going to get are going to be around 30 to 60 bucks or so, um, depending on what you want. Uh, I'm not sure if if you have a season pass, discounts will apply, but it's worth asking. Now, if you if your group wants to do a water park one day, instead of finding like 8 chairs beside each other, the best thing to do is rent a cabana. Now, I do know for most parks, you can use a season pass discount on that. Uh, the percentage off will vary by park. So keep that in mind. Typically, the bigger one's going to be around the 150 to 200 mark with the pass discount. You'll bring that down somewhat. Find out what's involved in it, and then you can go from there. Um, and even if you don't um, do the water park, maybe it's worth getting the cabana so that way you know where everybody is. That way you can be like meet up at cabana 8. So that is an option. Now, a lot of the times with those cabanas, they do get like free sunscreen, free bottles of water, and stuff like that. If you want food, you have to pay for that separate. Um, Now, the next thing is this with food and stuff as well. Depending on how long you're planning to stay, um, the best thing to do is actually if they offer it a dining pass for the day. Depending on what you want, and depending on with the drink uh, thing I said earlier, the best thing to do is either get like the one day or like the single. Now the single will be around $15 or so. The all day will typically be around the 30-ish mark. So take that with a grain of salt. So if you don't have the uh, drink plan, but you still want the all day and you don't want to carry around like a souvenir cup all day, the best thing to do actually with Cedar Fair is get the premium one, which is about $15 more. So that's around 45, but you do get free drinks. I think it's every 15 minutes with that. So it follows the drink plan that you get with your season pass. I'm not sure how big the cup for it is. That is something you have to discuss with the cashier at whatever stand you go to. Also, check the weather policies as well, just because with, they are seasonal events. Unfortunately, they cannot control the weather. So find out their weather policy. So if it rains, if it storms, if they have to close the park, stuff like that. Now, one of the best things to do as well, actually, and I should have said this earlier, is take tennis shoes because especially if you go in the mornings, the concrete is going to be warm, but it's not going to be miserable. But especially if they put in new concrete right around the season opening time, that concrete is going to be black and it will absorb the heat throughout the day. So by the time around the park closing or so, depending on if the park closes around 6 or 7, or especially with the water park at least, that concrete is going to be miserable. So the best thing to do is take tennis shoes at least. Now the thing with a lot like sandals and stuff like that is they are good for water purposes only. But once you get it into the actual park itself, you will run into problems. Um, Now the other thing to do is apply sunscreen every couple of hours as well, just because of how hot the sun can be. Now, lastly, is this plan a meeting spot with everybody uh, and go from there. Now, the other thing too, especially with a lot of the restaurants, will be find out their policies as far as you staying there longer than let's say 30 minutes to an hour. Some places will allow it, some places won't. So just find out their policies. If you have anything else to add, put them down below. If you have any questions, put them down below, and I'll be happy to answer it the best of my ability. Um, and overall, have a good time.